Hi, my name is Benjamin Aaker, and I'm Director of the Scholarship Pathways Program. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. This is going to be a video about Scholarship Pathways Program and what we do and how we can help you and what you get out of the program. The Scholarship Pathways Program is designed as a way to help you get a research project complete. You might start from nothing at all, and we can bring you up to having a research project, even maybe a publication. Research projects start with an idea, and that's maybe all that you have. And maybe you don't even have that, and we can help you with that. That idea then gets taken into, becomes a question, just about whatever you want to have answered in medicine. And then with that, then we use that question to generate a hypothesis. And that hypothesis gets tested by doing our research and getting our data collection, and then we evaluate it. So an example of this would be if a student comes to me and says, I don't have an idea at all on what to do, I say, well, what do you want to go into when you get out of medical school? And maybe they say, I want to go into emergency medicine. You don't have to come with an idea. You don't even have to do a research project within the specialty that you intend to go to. I just think it's nice to look for a project that's there just because that's an interest of yours. And the more interesting it is to you, the better that you're going to do. I think the more you're going to like doing it. So that student might come to me and say, I want to be an emergency medicine doctor. Well, then I say, well, let's talk about the things in emergency medicine. Or maybe the student has an idea already that they have worked with an ER doc and that attending has said something about, oh, the patients with kidney stones, they always seem to come in at 3 a.m. And so that might have sparked an idea in your mind that, what's going on with these kidney stones and why are they coming in at 3 a.m. and not during the middle of the day? So the question then we might craft would be, are kidney stones more common at 3 a.m.? Well, that's a great question, a good thing to try to answer. It's not really a hypothesis yet. So we have to generate that hypothesis. And so once we talk about it back and forth, then the student might come up with a hypothesis that patients who are ultimately diagnosed with kidney stones are more likely to visit the emergency department between midnight and 6 a.m. than at any other hour of the day. Now that may be true. It may not be true. But we're going to do the testing to figure that out. And so then we query the medical record for things like ureterolith or ureterolithiasis or kidney stone diagnoses. And we look at it for maybe a whole year out and look at when they came into the emergency department. And we do the statistical evaluation on that. And then the student then will use the results of that to say, yes, that hypothesis was true, or no, it wasn't. And then writes a paper and a manuscript and a poster, and then that hopefully gets published, or they get to present that at a research symposium. And that's what we bring you from nothing at all up to having a research project in the Scholarship Pathways Program. Now, you might come to us with an idea. You might even have an idea and a mentor already picked out, and that's great. We can help you with whatever part of the project that you need to do. We are there as Scholarship Pathways Program directors to solve a few major problems that you might come up with or that you might have when you're trying to do research. The first thing as a medical student might be that you just don't have an idea at all. You've never done research before. You don't have an idea of what you want to do, and that's okay. We can help you with that. Maybe you have an idea, but you don't have a mentor yet. We can help you with that too. We have a big list of mentors who have decided that they'd like to volunteer their time and help us out in doing research. Another big problem that people don't have a lot is statistical knowledge. How to do statistics. What do I do? And it's really important when you're starting a research project to have an idea about what kind of statistical work that you're going to do later on. And so we'll help you about figuring that out and at front, and also when it comes time to actually do the statistical work at the end. And then we help you with a publication, how to publish, where to publish, and how that process all goes. We can help you with any or all of those things. Now, our elective, the Scholarship Pathways Program, is an elective, and we can only take up to 20 students in an entire year. So if you have an intention to join Scholarship Pathways Program, we want you to get in early. Now, the Scholarship Pathways Program is called that because there's 4 different pathways that we have. These pathways are not rigid, they're loose. Some projects can be in one or the other, but we use that to kind of categorize each of our research into buckets. And some of the requirements that we have for students are a little bit different based on which pathway that they're doing. For instance, the first pathway would be research pathway, and that's what most people think about when they're doing research. It's either like a benchtop research or they're doing some clinical work in the clinic. And that then goes to become a publication, hopefully, or at least a manuscript. And that's what you traditionally think about. We also have the education pathway. Now, an example of this would be that if you're implementing a new education program in the medical school. So we have a great MD, MBA program that's just been developed. And one of our Scholarship Pathways program students did a great job in working with that program to get it up and running. And at the end of that, the program itself is kind of the scholarly product, but there's a small write-up that was done to tell us about how that was done. And that's the scholarly product for an education pathway. There's a service pathway. Service projects are things like, for an example, to increase knowledge about vaccinations, increase patients or family members' understanding about the benefits of vaccinations. This project might build a pamphlet and distribute that to clinics that could then be given out to patients. Or we've had a student who wrote a children's school book to teach children about anaphylaxis, the dangers and the things that we must do. And so that in and of itself was a scholarly product. And then the fourth pathway is social science pathway. So those are projects that a lot of times have things to do with kindness or empathy. That's a big thing in the medical school. Try to help with the arts and bring that back into medicine. So there's a lot of pathways and a lot of different things that you can do that aren't always straight up research and publish in a journal. Who is allowed to join Scholarship Pathways program? Because it's a 4-year program, it starts at the very start of your medical school, or it could start at the very start of your medical school and goes up until graduation. We need to get students on board as soon as possible to be able to get those research projects done. Now, there's some research projects that can be done very briefly, but most of those are very tiny projects, and the ones that we have are a little bit more robust than that generally. So we only take first-year medical students from July to through January of that first year. And if you miss that window of opportunity, then you will not ever have a chance to join Scholarship Pathways program again. We don't allow MD, PhD students. I'm sorry to you MD, PhD students who are out there. The reason that we don't allow is really a logistical reason, is that the timelines that we have just don't work with you going off to do your MD or to do your PhD. And honestly, the PhD program that you get is a lot more rigorous than what we have for Scholarship Pathways. You've got dedicated time in those 3-year plus years to get your PhD, and that's a higher honor than Scholarship Pathways has. We discourage prior PhDs, so if you already have your PhD and are in medical school now and you've done it traditionally where you got your PhD and then you're going to medical school, we discourage you from joining Scholarship Pathways just because it doesn't add a lot to what you have on your PhD, but we don't disallow it. So if you really want to join and you want to apply, we allow you to apply. Some projects just don't really fit, and those projects are mainly ones that are already kind of towards their completion. So if you did something in undergrad and your data is already collected, then probably that's too far along, and we would not allow you, because the Scholarship Pathways program, our mission is to teach you how to do research. It's not necessarily to produce the research, however, that's a big piece of it. It's that we want to show you how to do it and bring you every step of the way. And if you've already done most of it, then we don't really have much to give you, and we wouldn't accept you into the Scholarship Pathways program. However, if you've done research before in a certain area, usually we can find something to build on and give you a new project that's in that area, maybe even has the same mentor, and we can work with you to do that. The only other thing that would make a project not fit is if you, the student, are poor at communication. Communication is the number one most important thing, is the back and forth between you and the mentor and between you and the directors of the Scholarship Pathways program to get that communication about where you're at in your project. The research is hard, and research can sometimes get into some speed bumps and things, that roadblocks that can happen that are hard to get by for a medical student. You just don't have a lot of authority, whereas we as the professors in the medical school have more authority than you do to be able to get things across the finish line. But sometimes students just don't communicate that, and if you fail to communicate with us, or if you're not communicating with us, then you're not going to be that good in the Scholarship Pathways program, because a lot of it is about the back and forth about how are things going, checking in with us, helping you, and getting that project done. So if you're a poor communicator, this is not a good project for you. Scholarship Pathways program has a few requirements. The first one is your time, and you have to be aware of that it does take some time. Now, it depends on the project that you do, and if you tell us that you're concerned about the amount of time, then we'll help you to find a project that maybe is less time intensive. But there are multiple areas in the medical school where things get really busy for you. For instance, before you're going to take a big examination, where we say your school must come first. And so you might have times where you're doing nothing on your Scholarship Pathways program project. And like a lot of research, you will have times where you do a lot of work and then you don't do a lot of work for a while. It goes to the back burner, and that's okay. We realize that. But we do have regular meetings with you to help you keep on track and ask you where things are going. And we usually don't penalize students for falling behind, but we do if you're not communicating with us about what's going on and following those kind of timelines. You'll have regular meetings with your mentor, and that could be as simple as just a text message or an email or a phone call or a sit down or a Zoom or whatever that you want to do. But you'll have regular meetings with your mentor, and you'll have infrequent to frequent meetings with the Scholarship Pathway Program directors where you give us an update of your project. And at the end, you will produce a scholarly product, and that will usually be an abstract, a poster, and a manuscript of some sort that you'll submit to us as the directors. We will review that, and then that will go in your permanent record as the Scholarship Pathways program. Now, what do you get for being part of the Scholarship Pathways program? The first thing is monetary. You get a tuition reduction that is assessed at the 4th year of medical school, should you get through all the 4 years and do everything up until then. There's also a research stipend, which is nice to have. It can be used for travel, and then there's a stipend that's for supplies. So we really strongly encourage our students to travel to a symposium to be able to present at least their poster at that symposium, because it's a great opportunity and it's a great experience for you to be able to talk about your research and to learn how to talk about your research. The Scholarship Pathways programs also gives you something more to talk about in your interviews. Now, anytime nowadays, research is just so important and everybody's wanting to get some sort of research. And we have a great way to provide that to you with the Scholarship Pathways program. But, all these people who are interviewing for their programs, they're getting a stack of paperwork of CVs and grade scores and all kinds of things that they have to sift through, and they're going to be not wanting to do that. And they want to try to cut as many as they can. Unfortunately, it's just the way that humans are. We're going to try to throw as many of those into the trash right away without really looking through them. And their cutoff might be a certain score, or that they had researchers that they didn't. And you want to be able to get past those hurdles so that you can get in that interview. And having the broadest sort of knowledge and education is going to be the best way for you to do that beyond the scores. And so then you're going to be able to sit down, have that interview, and say something memorable about yourself, something that they can link to you. And that hopefully is the research that you've done and how excited you are to be able to talk about that. So this program gives you something you can be able to talk about in those interviews. In addition to that, you'll get a note on the MSPE, which is also known as the Dean's Letter. So just another way to distinguish yourself from other students. At graduation, you'll get special recognition that you completed the Scholarship Pathways program, and then you're also guaranteed acceptance to be able to present at the Scholars Research Symposium, which is our symposium that happens on the Thursday prior to graduation. So another great way to be able to present that research that you worked so hard on. Students have a few questions that I commonly get asked, and the first one is, that I have no idea at all what to do, and I don't have a mentor. I know nothing about this. I'm considering just not doing research because I have nowhere to start. For those students, I really encourage you to send me an email and just ask me, or just say, I want to do Scholarship Pathways program. I want to do research, but I have nothing. Maybe I never done research before. That's all okay, because that's really what we're here for, is to bring you from nothing to a research project. And we will work with you to get you that project. It takes some time because we've got to come up with an idea and a hypothesis and find a mentor who's interested in working with you as well. So we'll have a lot of emails back and forth that you'll have to get you to there. So again, because that takes some time, earlier communicating with me is better. Another question I get asked is, what's the difference between Scholarship Pathways program and other research? There's a lot of research that you can do. The school is great for being able to do lots of different types of research, and you can do multiple ones, and that's okay, so long as you have time and energy to do them all. But Scholarship Pathways is different, I think, because it's structured work on the research. There's just a more structure to it, rather than if you find a mentor who has an idea and has already kind of started, and then they just kind of give you a task to do or multiple tasks to do. You'll be able to get that research and hopefully get that publication doing that, and it'll take less time and energy on your part than Scholarship Pathways program. So if that's something that interests you more, then Scholarship Pathways might not be the thing for you. But Scholarship Pathways has maybe more work in terms of learning and educating yourself on the things that you need to do research. Scholarship Pathways program is probably easier to start doing if you're starting from scratch and you don't know anything about doing research. However, you don't have to. If you got an idea and a mentor we still usually will accept those kind of projects if they fit for us. Scholarship Pathways has built-in funds that helps you, so you're not applying to those funds, having to scrounge for funds later on. It's just part of the program, which is nice. And then we also have an elective associated with us. So part of, you get a grade for it. You get credits and a grade at the end of your medical school. So in Pillar 3, you'll accept or elect a elective between 4 and 8 weeks. And that's great for students to get that project finalized. It gives them some dedicated time to do the writing of that manuscript, abstract, and poster. And some students, they'll take that and they'll get it done sooner than that. And they'll use that time for other things that they wanted to do. And that's okay as well. The last question that I get asked most often is, how do I apply? So to apply, what you want to do is go to D2L, to Scholarship Pathways Program Pillar 1, and find the application. It's a 2-page application. There's a little bit of work to do it. It'll probably take you an hour or two. You just need to do a little bit of background research. Just, Google, scholar.google.com, find some research journals in the past, or go to the library to do it. Just remember that we have this rolling admission process. So once you start medical school, we're open, and then we end on January 31st. And so if you don't have your application in by then it's unlikely that you will get accepted. So earlier submission of your application is better. Now, it is very common that we'll take an application and we will review it and we'll send it back to the student saying, hey, we would like you to consider these few things, and here's where we're going to help you with this hypothesis, because we want your project to be great up front. If you start on a good foundation, you're going to do a lot better. And we very often need to narrow down student ideas from something that's very broad that we don't think can get done in time to something that's more narrow. 4 years seems like a long time, but unfortunately it goes so fast when you're in medical school. So we want it to be something that you can get done, and we have the experience in doing that. So another big benefit that we give you is the knowledge of, this project we think is a high likelihood of success, or, it's not a high likelihood of success. So before we even start it, let's talk about how we can find a project that is one in the exact same field that you want to do. So we'll help you with that. And sometimes it takes a few emails back and forth and meeting with us to get that done. You can feel free to email me for help. I'm always happy to receive emails from you. Benjamin.aaker@usd.edu. That's benjamin.aaker@usd.edu. You can also find that by Googling USD Scholarship Pathways Program and sending it on to us. Once you do that, then when you get on to the end of Pillar 2, then you'll apply for the Pillar 3 elective, and you'll then take that, and we'll help you and work in that elective time. So in conclusion, I just want to thank you again for watching this video. Scholarship Pathways Program is a great way to do research. We will start you from nothing at all, or if you have an idea or a project, even some projects that are already started can join the Scholarship Pathways Program, subject to the fact that they're not too far along, and we'll talk to you about it. Just send me an email and ask me about it if you want. Scholarship Pathways Program is a great way to get some travel paid for, where you can go and see the world or see the sights and go to a new place that has a symposium and see and learn things from them. It's a great elective that you get that you don't have with other research places in the medical school. And then it's a great way to give you education on how to do research, something that we just don't really. We teach a little bit in medical school, but we don't give you a lot of that. And this is a great way to get into research. So if you're interested in getting into research, you want to have some more intense information on how to do that, Scholarship Pathways is a great way to do that. And again, should you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. We can set up a time to talk if you have them. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great medical school.